It's a little wobbly. Maybe that's for Barbara. You. The fifth.
Probably at least 5 miles away, and they overlap, you know, the middle side. But yeah, just, I mean,
I'll call this meeting to order. I'll ask everybody in the gallery, if you haven't, to please silence your cell phones. Tonight's invocation will be done by Mayor Pro Tem Albright and the Pledge of Allegiance by Commissioner Kaczynski. Mayor Pro Tem.
Will you bow your heads with me? Heavenly Father, we thank you for the abundant blessings of living in the United States. We thank you for the freedom we have to worship you, and we are grateful for the safety of our homes and the cities we live in. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sarah, if you could do the roll call for me, please.
Commissioner Way?
Present.
Commissioner Gleason?
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Albright?
Present.
Commissioner Kaczynski?
Present.
Commissioner Wilkins?
Present.
Mayor Wheeler?
Here. Okay. We move down to item 4, approval of the agenda. And I know there are some. Let me mention one here. We've had adjournment and closed session flipped. So we want to make sure that we understand that 7 is adjournment. It will be after closed session. Okay. Commissioner Gleason, I believe you had 2 things.
I'd like to remove items 6C and 6D.
Okay. Let's see. Commissioner Kuczynski?
Yes, I'd like to add a discussion on Campo.
All right, we'll do that at 6J. And one more thing here, item 6F, we're going to remove it from tonight and move it to September 5th. All right, any other changes or additions needed to the agenda? Not hearing any, I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda. So moved. Changes as made. Commissioner Wilkins has made the motion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries 5-0. All right, at this time, we have a proclamation for Pecan Hill Neighborhood 35th Annual Reunion. I will ask the participants to join me up front here. And anyone else that would like to join us? One thing here we got to get where, Sarah, we can make sure we're on TV, right?
Yes.
Welcome to CREEDMOOR. This is a proclamation celebrating the 35th Annual Pecan Hill Reunion. Whereas Pecan Hill, originally known as CREEDMOOR Heights, was established in the 1940s to provide housing for African American workers during World War II, with approximately 36 families moving to Pecan Hill between 1940 and 1989. And whereas since 1989, residents past and present have met each Labor Day at Harris Park to educate the community regarding their heritage, reminisce, fellowship, and express sincere love for one another. And whereas the 35th Annual Pecan Hill Reunion has been set for Monday, September 4th, 2023 at Harris Park in Pecan Hill in CREEDMOOR, North Carolina, 10 a.m. And whereas the planning of this event is for the former and present residents of Pecan Hill to share and recall experiences of times past as well as those of today. And whereas their heritage is to be preserved, and this annual reunion will be a valuable tool to bind the present with the past. And whereas the memories of the past will live in the hearts and souls of those who live there forever. And whereas therefore, I, Mayor Robert V. Wheeler, by virtue of authority vested in me as Mayor of the City of CREEDMOOR, on behalf of the City of CREEDMOOR Board of Commissioners, do hereby proclaim Monday, September 4th, 2023, as Pecan Hill Reunion Day in CREEDMOOR, North Carolina. Wish everyone a most enjoyable and memorable occasion. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And would y'all like to say something?
Yes, on behalf of the Pecan Hill resident, and this is my cousin, Mr. Rogers, thank you. Thank you so much for the proclamation. We appreciate it. And, yeah, we do. We have a real good time.
You do, and I have been very pleased with the turnout this down there. And I want to also say I'm very pleased with the work the city has done down there. That is a beautiful place.
Thank you so much. We are really grateful, especially for the trees.
It does get awful warm down there, especially this time of year. But congratulations, and I hope you enjoy everything in your reunion. Plan my best to be down there if I'm in town.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Did you want to add anything? Okay. All right, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah. You got one that's on this.
All right, that's 5. We move on to item 6, discussion items. 6A, CREEDMOOR Volunteer Fire Department update. Chief Fisher and Assistant Chief Foley, I believe the floor is yours.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Commissioners, and all the people that are in the room tonight. I want to kind of give you some update on some things going on with the fire department. Obviously, one big topic, it's been going completely around in circles, it seems to be, but we're getting close, county contract. I'm hoping that maybe this week we'll be ready to sign that, so, hopefully it's very close. We've gotten our information, our budgeting information, ready for them, just about got that completed and finished. We've gotten our annual inventory, inspections and things like that, that's already actually been turned into the emergency management office, trying to stay ahead of the game, having everything ready, so we're ready to sign the contract. I can sign it and we move forward with getting money. An additional place that our commission has given the money is, giving departments an additional $20,000 for startups for people that are adding daytime help to their stations. Again, even though we already have daytime help and we've already been working with that program about 5 years now, we still qualify for the additional $20,000, so we've got gear that's coming in and we're getting receipts together, so we'll be getting that additional $20,000 as well, beyond the budget numbers from them. I mentioned the grant. I think the last time we met here, the grant did go through for us. It was right at $60,000. The grant from the state pays $30,000, and we started receiving that gear as well, so we'll be getting those receipts. We'll be getting $30,000 back from the state for that fire grant, and that's something that's offered throughout the state. We did not get it last year, we turned in for it, but just did not qualify for it. So it's kind of one of those pots of money, and they start digging it out, and if you're down toward the bottom, you get left out. We got it this year, feel very fortunate we did, so we're good on that. Big thing coming up, Fireman's Day. We kind of settled in on that now. It's October 14th. This is always the second Saturday. We're going to sell the brunch SKU the same way we've been doing it, $10 a quart. The parade will be that day at 1 o'clock, and then we'll sell the SKU immediately afterwards. But we're doing the pre-sale just like we've done in the past. That starts September 8th. It goes through October 3rd. And that coming up, we'll have the flyers coming out, and the letters coming out, and that's also going to be in the newspaper. I've already talked with Becky Norris with the I think it's the Weekly or whatever, but they also do the Monday Fremont News and everything, and she'll have a big article coming out a couple of times during the next few weeks with that information, so that'll be being advertised. At that time, that's all I've got. I think Matt's got some information.
As you know, the road project's in process right now. Thank you very much for allowing us to put one of the trucks in the, Public Works. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Everything is situated, everything's working great. That project's going along fine. It looks like hopefully they're gonna finish up on time, knock on wood.
Yeah, Fireman's Day's coming.
Yeah. Budget-wise, the end of the year, we finished on budget, so all that came out pretty good. We didn't go over budget, so that was great. This new year budget, as we know, we're finishing up the contracts, we're on schedule with everything. Everything looks good. We're not having to beg for anything right now, so, we did also, I know I informed you all last time that we got the SAFER grant, which pays per call, and it also pays for a sign. Still have not heard exactly how to get that process going. We're working on that, but at least we qualified, we're into that going. The new station, yes, thank you. We're still working hard on that, trying to come up with not the preliminary plans, but the enhanced plans. We were supposed to meet this past month with the architect. Looks like it's gonna be in the next 1 or 2 weeks to do that, so that's still going on. For y'all's information, I'm still looking at probably a 3-year outlay for that. Everything works perfect before groundbreaking, but the only way to go is to one step in front of another and keep going until we hit a roadblock.
Relating to the new station, I know there was a question about water allotment. Robert is going to check with us and see. I don't even know what our allotment is at our existing station. So he's going to check with Wassa and find out what our allotment is. I know we have allotment for the property we've purchased behind us, the Clegg House sits on. And so with those allotments, we may not need additional allotment or anything. So once we find out these information numbers, if we've got allotment, we'll return any other additional allotment that may be being held for us. We can get some more houses in here.
Because we actually have three.
Oh, that's right.
The property across the street,
Right.
water
The old
loss
shop,
also.
that's right, the old shop across
We
the
may
street.
not need it.
Right, so if it's not, we'll definitely let you know and get that back, and like I said, we can certainly have some more residential, that'll help the city as well.
Also, I know at some point, it wasn't the last time we were here, probably the time before, we were talking about the siren going off and working on that. It is still an integral part of our ISO. But what we were looking at is what can we do to make the community better? It goes off a lot. I mean, every time we get a call, and if we get canceled before we get to the station, it goes off again. So we're working with Granville County Trent 911 Center to try to change the protocol. The way it's set up is when they dispatch us, they hit our tones. And our siren goes off with the tones, which is great. That lets everybody know that we've got a call. But when we cancel, they're setting our tones off again. Our volunteers are already around. If that pager goes off, they're not going to hear the siren go off. Their pagers are already on, so setting off the tones doesn't do anything for us. So if we can just get them to do that, that cuts it in half. The other object was, and that may take a lot, I'm not sure, I don't want to put anything on the police chief, but there is a button in the dispatch office that says the siren off. There may be, if nothing else happens, that we basically turn it off on dispatch, and if we get a second call and nobody's answered it, somebody's here that can hit a button and set the siren off. That's a possibility. That's a lot of other working parts, but at least we're looking at how to change this and make it better. Because I know I don't really want to get woke up to walk in the morning with a siren, but
Well, and one of the things on our dispatch, it used to be a dispatch, and if no one answered within 3 minutes, an additional dispatch. Well, they moved that to 2 minutes, and that makes it very difficult at 3 o'clock in the morning, when I'm at home in the bed, I can't get dressed in my truck to answer a radio within 2 minutes. So there comes that second dispatch coming out. We've talked to them about moving it to 3 minutes. If Mercy Management and them say, we need to stay with the 2 minutes. I think it's, at 3 o'clock in the morning, you need an additional minute for people to get ready. If we're at the station, you come right out, you answer the radio on the truck. If I gotta get out, get to my truck, get dressed, get out and get to my truck, or any other firefighter, and it takes that additional minute at 3 o'clock in the morning. So like I say, we're trying to work with Trent and the 911 Center to see if there's some protocols that can be changed to try to cut down and, reduce the number of times it has to blow.
because the only thing is the call volume's going up, so that means that siren goes off more and more. And we've got to be diligent and look at what we can do to fix that.
It was like last year was 388 calls in the entire year, which is more than a call a day, so that's right there, one below a call. And again, like I said, if it was a second instead of phones, then that was an additional time that it blew. And if they canceled us in some of those calls, there was that third time it blew, so that's the thing we're against as far as why it blows so much.
Well, another thing that it not only wakes the citizens up, it wakes their dogs up too. And these dogs are howling and barking and doing all that stuff for a while.
I get started at my house, but I hear my dog.
Yeah, it does. City manager, do you have any further updates as far as the road work on Elm Street, other than what they said, or?
Well, originally they said 3 weeks. I go over every morning, take a picture and check out the progress. They did run into a communication line over there today that wasn't marked. They called Loco out to see what that is. Hard to believe it's communications as much as phone lines go over in front of the station there, but they seem to be on schedule. They've got about half the apron excavated, starting to break that up, and the crossover is almost cleaned all the way through, so they seem to be right on schedule.
They're about how I saw today, they were about halfway across the apron, and like I said, across the road, it already looks like it's pretty close.
Good. Commissioner Gleason?
How many complaints do you actually get about the whistle, and is it the same complainers? Not that
Usually it's the same people that say that, but they've also been vocal to some of y'all and other members, so.
I don't see one of them this year a lot. I've had one or two from individuals, you know, and they asked about the siren, and I explained to them how it works, and they seem to kind of go away, okay, well, I see that, I understand that, or whatever. And I'll tell you this, if I'm at home mowing my yard, I have literally had a shirt on with a pocket, and had my pager in my pocket, and I don't hear that pager, but the siren has just the right tone for the cycles that it puts out, or the tone of it. I will hear that siren over my mower when I don't hear my pager go off right here in my pocket. And my pager sounds and vibrates, but I'm on the mower, so I'm already vibrating. So, you know, and realistically, I have gotten a call like that and have gotten a siren to move me to, you know, to answer a call when I did not hear my pager. So, I mean, it's just one of the things, being that we're volunteer, we only have, right now, members there 8 to 5 during the day. So if I'm mowing on Saturday, so that does help as far as me, but I'm one individual, so, you know, like I say, any way we can help those feeling, reducing it,
So there-
we can do, we're trying to.
There is a little cost for free.
Right, right.
Well, if you can get them to quit doing it at night, quit doing it at night.
Right.
There you go. Any questions or comments?
Chief, do you guys have an update on the new engine?
That is still about a year out.
Right, so, yeah, we're still about 12 months, 13 months out. We talked to the manufacturer work where they at the conference they had 2 weeks ago in Raleigh.
They're hoping to have it for that conference next year. So.
Thank you.
Commissioner Kaczynski.
So doesn't that siren keep our, insurance rates down?
It helps us with the credits toward
The iOS.
The iOS rating?
And where we're sitting right now, it's hard to get those points up because it's already there. It's not a cost to us. Yes, it's a cost to citizens that get woke up, but it does keep our insurance ratings down, and it gets us responding, so.
So I think I understand that you have to have 2 types of dispatch, right? So it appears from my scanner that that's the first, and then the pagers are second. And can we flip it? Oh, it is flipped.
It's already, we
Okay.
rely more on the pagers and the radio system than we do the siren.
Well, don't depend on the radio system, because I can't understand a word these people are saying, and if you can, you're much better than I am.
And then sometimes you don't understand.
We ask still questions back, give us those cross streets again, or give us additional information, yes.
The other thing I wanted to ask, you guys assisted North Wake last week during that horrible storm, didn't you? Down by the Sandy Plains area? If y'all haven't driven down there, it is a mess, and I'm glad that you guys were there.
Yeah, I have.
Gentlemen, thank you very much. Please keep us informed. Let us know if you need anything else.
Thank you very much.
All right, at this point, we're moving to item 6B, update on FY '24 Community Center programs, proposed city-sponsored events, and update on the CREEDMOOR Music Festival. And that would be Mr. Horgan.
Good evening. Can you hear me? Does this pick me up now? I'm sorry to hang.
Yeah.
Good evening, Commissioners. Christopher Horgan, Recreation Director for the City of CREEDMOOR. Thank you for the opportunity to come before you tonight, talk about a few opportunities moving forward, the CREEDMOOR Music Festival. But I wanted to start, about a month ago, I sent out an email that caused a little bit of confusion in referring to our Veterans Day breakfast as a program. I wanted to step back, apologize for that confusion, but also take the opportunity to clear up any confusion moving forward in terms of what's a program, what's an event, and what's a city-sponsored event. So the first, perfect. When I referred to it as a program, again, I apologize for any disrespect, I was referring just to the structure of the activity itself, not the importance of the activity. When I'm asking my staff to design a program or design an event, those are terms I'm using internally that I was using with you, this jargon. And whenever you use jargon, you can create some confusion. So when I say programs, I'm talking about a event or an activity where there's guided participation, where you're going to do activity A, B, C, and D, and you're going to do it in that particular order. Programs generally have fewer resources that are required in terms of budget, staff, space, preparation, supplies. They're generally easier to put together, lower maximum attendance, and a more personalized, guided attendance when we're talking about a program, or when I'm talking about a program. The next screen, when you look at what an event is, it's a kind of choose your own adventure. You can come in at any point during that event. You can participate in activity C, B, D, A. You can do it whatever way you want to do it. You can even skip elements of it. Greater demand on resources, large number of attendees generally to these, more moving parts. And I think this is where the differences come in. You can see some examples of when I'm telling my staff how this event coming along or plan this event, what we're looking at, CREEDMOOR Music Fest, NC Bike week that came through, whether it be the holiday parade coming through. I'm talking about the structure of the activity. Again, apologies, I think what the disrespect came from is events are also defined as anything that's of special importance. It's a planned public social occasion. So I don't think this was an instance where I meant any disrespect or vice versa, that I took any disrespect. I think we're talking about the same thing, just using two different definitions and terms. But I did think it was a great opportunity to look forward to what is our city-sponsored events, because I don't get to assign what's a city-sponsored event. Really, that city-sponsored label is determined by our BOCU, our Board of Commissioners. So I wanted to start, we're already planning ahead to 2024, so I wanted to look at what we have proposed for 2024 so we can get on the website, update the website, start planning, and to avoid any confusion going forward in terms of what we're calling an event and what we're not. So we go into the next slide. We have, and again, these are things that are proposed, that they're brought here for your discussion tonight. I like that as a city-sponsored event. I do not like that as a city-sponsored event. Tell me more about that event, or this is something that's missing on that list that I thought was a city-sponsored event. MLK Day breakfast, egg scramble, day of play, Juneteenth, fireworks at Lake Holt, CREEDMOOR Music Festival, National Night Out, Fireman's Day celebration, Main Street trick-or-treat, Veterans Day breakfast, holiday parade. I didn't include the Memorial Day lunch. Again, this is where I wanted to talk about with that. It's not that we are not planning one. You know, the discussion so far had been really having the event at Butner and just holding a luncheon at the Willow Oak Room, not a ceremony, not have speakers come in, just have a luncheon out there. If we want to elevate that to the level of an event, we can, but I thought that level of commitment didn't necessarily elevate it to an event in and of itself. So I'll leave that discussion to you. A few other things I wanted to note to get your feedback, because ultimately you make these decisions. I did, previous years, we've referred to fireworks at Lake Hope as 4th of July fireworks. The egg scramble is the Easter egg hunt. The tree lighting and the holiday parade is the Christmas tree lighting. I removed those this year for a couple of reasons. One, some feedback is that you're not posting these on that actual holiday. Don't call them that because they're not on that holiday. Two, one thing I'll put out there too is I've had an individual this past year who worked for me who doesn't celebrate Christmas. Doesn't work for me on those events, and it really brought to there are people in our community for one reason or another who, for their beliefs, can't attend that event because it's labeled as a Christmas or an Easter or whatever we might be labeling it as, and to be sensitive to those individuals. Not that I'm worried about offending them, that they have a truly deeply held belief that they can't come out and participate in that because I don't recognize Christmas as whatever it might be. That's not what I celebrate. And that goes for Christians in our community, that goes for Muslims, people who celebrate the Jewish religion, people who might celebrate no religion at all. But there are people in our community who don't celebrate those and can't because of their religiously held beliefs, participate in those celebrations because of the name. So again, it's for those two reasons. One, we're not hosting them on those days. I've attended Easter egg hunts. I've hosted Easter egg hunts. There's always been on Easter Sunday that I've held those events. And then again, that other reason in terms of being more accessible. So this is kind of where I'll open it up to, you know, what does the board want to do? What do they want to sponsor as holiday events? What do they want those namings to be? And it looks like you were taking over.
Commissioner Wilkins.
Did I hear you correctly, we're not going to have a Christmas tree lighting this year?
We're going to have a Christmas tree lighting, but we're going to call it the community tree lighting, and we'll light a Christmas tree as part of that community tree lighting.
What have we done for the last few years?
We've done a Christmas tree lighting, and we've done a Christmas parade, but both of those aren't held anywhere near Christmas, and we've got a lot of other holiday events or holidays to celebrate during that period that occur before and after throughout that whole December, November timeframe.
So why are we backing it away from Christmas?
So I think it's two reasons. One, we're backing away because, we're not hosting it on Christmas. It's far away from the Christmas date, and because we have a lot of other holidays that I think we, the city, may want to recognize as being part of that holiday season.
I like to see Christmas recognized.
Well, Christmas would be recognized along with other holidays during that. I think it's when you single it out as being a Christmas event versus it being a holiday event where people who celebrate other holidays would come out and participate in that.
Are we backing down because of some individuals?
No, not at all. I think for, again, a few reasons. There are people with truly religious held beliefs.
Get that.
Who don't celebrate that, and we're putting...
And there's a lot of religious belief that Christ was born on Christmas Day.
Absolutely, but there are Christians who don't believe Christmas is a biblical holiday. There are...
Really? Where do you get that information from?
That's...
Tell the preacher where you get that information from.
I don't believe we celebrate the birth of Christ, the resurrection of Christ. I don't know that the Bible specifically says Christmas or Easter. Both of those are other holidays that have been adopted to spread the word of Christ in our community. I think it's really important to recognize that. But we have certain people in certain denominations, I don't want to single out any denomination in particular, who say, look, Christmas and Easter aren't necessarily, not that they're not Christian holidays, but biblical holidays. And I can't attend that because that's not something that the Bible directs me to. I'm not saying just because they're Christians, that is a small segment of the conversation, but we do have people who are the Muslim faith, the Jewish faith in our community, who, again, I need to speak up for in terms of when I'm planning these programs to say, do you feel uncomfortable coming to this event because of the name? And just to the extent that I feel coming and having this discussion with you, feel like I've got to be the representative for those other people who might not have that relationship with you to share that message that, may be nervous, knowing how important, we take our Christian holidays in this community, to feel uncomfortable bringing that before you. I'm not saying anybody directed me or asking me to, but I do know that there are people who have that, and this is not worried about offending anybody. This is really about, again, recognizing there are people in our community who, because of their held beliefs, can't attend those festivals that we're putting city resources to, and that we'd love to have them attend it. And knowing that how many other beautiful holidays there are in December, in January, in November, around the time we're hosting it would be an opportunity to recognize those as well. I don't want to take Christ out of Christmas or Easter, but at the same time, I think we have people who celebrate other things in our community that we can integrate into these activities, much like we did the holiday sing-along. It's just being more inclusive with the way we present these to our community. Not that we have to not include things, but sometimes it's all in a name, and I want to bring that. If we want to change that Christmas week.
It is all about a name. What percentage of Christians you think live in the city of CREEDMOOR surrounding areas?
I don't know.
Hazard a guess?
I would say it's probably north of 80%.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So we're not going to worry about the 80%. We're going to worry about the 20.
To be honest with you, I think you're getting off topic a little bit, because this is not a...
I'm personally offended, Mr.
I understand that. What I would wonder about is, and I see where you're going, but I would wonder about those folks that say, okay, it's a community tree lighting so I can go, but when Santa Claus shows up, are they going to leave? Same thing with the Christmas parade. It becomes the holiday parade. The fact that Santa's going to show up at the end of the parade, that's not going to have any effect on them. And if we're changing the name, do we need to eliminate Santa out of both parts, which is not a Christian idea, it's more of a community, which you could look at the other way too. But I'm just wondering about, if we do this, are we looking at opening doors that we don't really want to open?
So, we don't have our city attorney here. What I would say is what we did with, I think, I'm going to use our holiday sing-along as an example. When we planned our holiday sing-along, we took songs that were Christian hymns, that were related to the Jewish faith, included those. We took songs that were not related to any faith at all, that were truly secular Christmas songs. And then we included songs from Kwanzaa as well. We took a good faith effort to really embrace a lot of stuff from the holiday season. So no, I think it's not about, saying, no, we can't have Santa, we can't recognize these things. But when you name it that, and that's all you have, maybe we need to look at having the choir sing a Jewish hymn, or lighting a menorah, or speaking to individuals from the Muslim faith and take a look at what elements make sense to integrate around that. That's what I see at the community tree lighting, is I see community is what I want to highlight. And I don't want to hide the Christian view of it, but I do feel, when I know that I have individuals in the community who have that belief that, as strong a belief as you have in your God and what your God can allow you to do or not do, there's somebody in our community with a different faith who shares that same level of commitment to their God. They look at that and say, I'm not Christian, I can't go. It says there right in the name, Christmas parade. And so I don't mean any disrespect, but I definitely need, I was very uncomfortable having this conversation with you tonight.
Well,
okay.
you don't need to defend it. You're presenting it a way that it goes. This is not a reflection on you.
Nope.
But I want to remind the board that we do not represent just the Christian faith. I mean, I'm a firm believer in Christmas and birth of Jesus and all that. But as mayor, as commissioners, we represent the whole community, and we want to make it as inclusive as we can for the whole community. So I just kind of remember that part of it. Commissioner Gleason.
Again, you're in a hard place. Bottom line is, I'm a Christian. I've been a Christian my whole life. I never saw Santa Claus in the Bible once.
Not once.
Not once. Santa Claus.
Or a Christmas tree.
Or a Christmas tree. I believe I was at a concert at the high school where they sing at the holiday thing. They sing Jewish songs for Hanukkah, songs for Christmas, songs for Kwanzaa. There are, again, getting here is a tough thing. The bottom line is 80% of those of us who are Christian here see that we're having a community tree lighting. We know we're going to a Christmas tree lighting, and Santa Claus is going to be there.
Regardless of what it's
called. And I think that, as the mayor said, it does give a little bit of recognition that there are other people in our community. That's all. So I have no problem with community tree lighting or holiday parade.
Commissioner Way, any questions or comments?
No, it's, my personal beliefs don't interfere with what's going on as a city commissioner. Personally, I agree with everyone here, I grew up, it was Christmas parade, it was, that's what our faith is, and that's what it is, but I mean, I understand we represent a community for all people. It's transitioned from Christmas to holiday parade just about everywhere. It's transition the same for Christmas tree lighting to holiday festival. So I see where you're coming from. I understand it's a hard position to bring it up, and I'm sure you had your armor on tonight and you were ready for what was going to transpire. I mean, I get, instead of Easter egg hunt, it's the egg scramble. I get that as well. We know what we celebrate during that time of year, so.
I thought that was a breakfast we're going to have. I didn't even say that.
I know. I'm like, yes.
I didn't even say this.
I feel better now.
That's why I'm here for you. I'm here for you.
Knowing I wasn't the only one.
I even had a question mark next to mine. I was going to ask what it was.
Yeah, so instead of Easter egg hunt, it's the egg scramble, because all the kids are scrambling to get the egg.
I get it.
There you go. Commissioner Kuczynski, any questions or comments?
So I did some research while you were presenting this and we were talking. Raleigh hasn't changed theirs. It's still called the Raleigh Christmas Parade. Durham has changed theirs to the Durham Holiday Parade. Christopher, you haven't been here long enough to know that the Christmas tree lighting used to have a reading, which was the story of Christmas. And Christian hymns were said. We got a complaint from a citizen and it was stopped. I'm concerned about changing this and offending others. Now, if we do a community tree lighting and you're talking about a menorah and we've got the Kwanzaa bush and all this stuff, so are we going to have to go out and buy all new decorations? Are we going to be stopped from putting Christmas decorations on our light poles on Main Street? I'm just wondering how far we're going to go with this. Because it could end up costing us a ton of money.
A few things with this along the line. So, again, Kevin's not here, this would be a conversation, I'm going to go back to the holiday, I have no problem with including, this is me, with, recognizing, Christians, with recognizing, that through the storytelling. I think where you run into the challenge is, if that's all you're leaning into, you can't go back and say this is a good faith effort to celebrate the holiday season. So I would make the argument that when you are able to step back and include more elements from more beliefs, you can expose the public more to what you believe, because you're not leaning only into that. If that's what if you added the Christmas tree lighting and that's the story you're telling, and I'm not, there were Christmas hymns in that, I think the argument from somebody coming in from a legal standpoint can say, this is a city event celebrating the Christian religion, because that's all you're leaning into. So you've got to get rid of it all and, go the other direction. When you can show that you're leaning in and really, truly, and this is starting to get into where the city attorney's got to weigh in, but where you are making a good faith effort to incorporate other beliefs and not showing a propensity for one, then yes, you can expose people to what you believe and you can have more of that. Now, the cost, we going in and we're going to have to replace things, or you're going to buy new things. I know he was talking about buying, holiday banners, Christmas banners for Main Street. That would be a new expense. I would just argue you don't have to go back and replace everything all at once. It's a lot like when you have ADA. You have to just show a plan in place in the transition period. As you buy new banners, as you buy a new tree, include that in the purchase, so that you are just not replacing everything you want. As you replace those things you need to replace, you're just budgeting for that. So no, I wouldn't say an added cost above and beyond what you're going to spend anyways at some point in time. You're just incorporating that future cost into the replacement cost, whatever you're going to be replacing anyways.
And my other concern is that when we do this community tree lighting and change it to that, next year it's going to be no tree.
Exactly.
Well, I think
we're stepping on the toes of Christians.
Absolutely.
I understand all this. I do understand it all. But I believe that we are trying to suppress Christianity, and that is what I have a problem with. I don't mind celebrating everybody else's stuff, but being inclusive means I accept your faith, you accept my faith, I accept your beliefs, you accept mine, but not include mine and change yours. That's not inclusive to me. That is, I don't even know the word for it, and I understand, and it's like we all said, we know this is not your fight. I understand your purpose. Holiday parade, Santa Claus, we're going to take Santa Claus out of that, and it's just, I guess I'm not ready to discuss this yet. I need some time to think about it. I didn't realize it was on this sheet tonight, and I didn't pick up on it right away, but I think that, and I work for a company that we were not allowed to put Merry Christmas on the outside of our cube. Could be on the inside. But we accepted everybody's religion. It was, if you want to put a Kwanzaa tree, if you want to put a menorah, if we want to do blue lights and we want to do Christmas, everybody can do their own thing, and we can celebrate them all.
Right.
But I am not willing to take one down. Let's do them all, or we don't do any of them.
I agree.
You know, all or nothing is my thought on this. You know,
Can we revisit this, Mr. City Manager?
Yeah, well, we will, but I think we're okay with the holiday decorations, that type of thing, like the Christmas tree and all that. I think, if we were gonna have problems with certain individuals, we'd have seen them already, which we have in certain extent. So, yes, we will put this, give people a chance to think about it, I get to, and, kind of shift it down the road a little bit. We'll give you plenty of time to put it in there, just whichever way we go. So, Mayor Pro Tem.
Chris, I appreciate you being the stand-up person. It's a tough spot, I'm sure. So, I'm not so concerned about the egg scramble. I think the egg scramble is fine, because Easter is the next day. Easter is on the 31st, and most of us Christians would go to church and do our things anyway. Juneteenth is on the 19th, which, I mean, can't really substitute that date. The fireworks festival I wish was a little closer to the 4th of July, to tell you the truth. And I'm going to ask about the National Night Out. Why isn't it closer to August like everybody else's is?
So we're trying it out this year. It's so hot the first Tuesday of people are just,
Yeah.
in terms of being a safe and more enjoyable. I think that was a big thing for it, and moving it after. It is a logistically demanding event. We have helicopters landing.
Yeah.
And noting that it comes before, a little thing I'm about to talk about next, called Music Fest coming up. So pushing it after gives some leeway to Angie to, not that it's ever been not a great event, but better comfort for our guests. We're not the only community. Some are still recognizing in August, that first Tuesday in August. Some are moving it to October. We're not alone. So I think there are twofold reasons there.
Okay, all right. Let's see. And so I do have a problem with it not being named the Christmas Parade. I'll just fire that one. But I do have other faiths, not Christian faiths, in our subdivision, and they would not change their holidays for us. They would invite us as guests, and they would be welcoming, I'm sure. But for us to change our holidays to, like Commissioner Kaczynski said, and the Reverend said, that it would be something that ours would basically be squashed and everybody else's would be included. And I feel like inclusive also means to me welcoming everybody. Like our neighbors know, we just know that they don't celebrate Christmas. There's no lights, there's no anything like that. But they are welcome at our house during that time, and they know that, and they stop by and they're grateful for the food and all the things that we do together. But I do know that I don't think that they would change their holidays for us so that we would attend theirs. I think it's just more of a personal thing, like I said, I think they know that they're welcome. And, if we wanted to go down here to the church down here and knock on the door, they come to our house all the time and ask us to come visit their church. So I look at it like that. I don't look at it like, and I would love for a menorah. We sang about those in school very long time ago, because I'm an old lady, but we sang about the little menorahs and the dreidels in school, and we actually made them, and we did things like that. And I don't think it was just so much of, we were little kids then, so it was super easy just to say, oh, well, is this what you do during your holiday? And it was, we just kind of went on about it. But I guess we'll put this on the board for another discussion sometime.
Hopefully we can put it on there no later than in our next work
Yes.
session. That'll
And,
give everybody plenty of time.
And
to get some thoughts.
it's supposed to be one nation under God. So I think I'd like to
We all
keep
said
that
that
yes.
And just wanted to be clear, I'm glad you're having a discussion about it. I wanted to start this discussion. I didn't want to try and sneak that past.
You were
I
successful.
hope you realize I was bringing it to you. I pointed that out and wanted to make that a specific thing tonight.
Yes.
So I didn't want to get to where you approved anything and then we were back having that.
Not anywhere near that.
Thank you again and
Thank you, Chris.
please understand that I
Absolutely.
don't mean any offense to any.
No.
None taken, Chris.
I want to have, I don't know that you've had that conversation. I think it's an important one to have.
Yeah, it's still be.
On to the CMF, CREEDMOOR Music Festival 2023. Things are coming along really, really well. If we'll flip to the first page, we have our band lineup. We have everything from rock, multi-genre, we have chorus, we have bluegrass, indie pop, blues, rock, gospel. I think we have a very diverse vocal lineup for both of our stages this year. We spend a lot of time, I know, Sarah, you've been integral, you and Angie, reviewing all those, watching their videos. Is there anything you want to comment? You've seen all of their, put you on the spot.
I think we have a good lineup, and we try to, pick a variety of, genres, so something for everybody.
Any particular favorite you're looking forward to?
I want the Beatles band from last year, I like that.
So our vendor spaces are filling up. One of the biggest things, we've got a lot of local, what we call craft vendors. Many of these vendors are producing their own goods locally or bringing them in. Some of them are things that people buy elsewhere. I've had a chance to look at some of the names. Some of those you'll recognize are local, Elite Legacy Fitness, a local business owner that's in there, but a lot of great Prince TV from Main Street. A lot of people who've been involved in years past are involved again this year. People who come usually come back. I wish I had broken that down to give you a percentage. That's something I really want to go look at to see what our return percentage from one year to the other is, but I don't have that yet, and I hope to report that at the end of the year for you, what percent of return from one year to the next. My favorite is the next slide. If you're all about the food, well, that's a lot of food, plenty of food for people to eat. Everything from Latin foods to barbecue to big pineapple drinks, if that's what you were into. So we've got a great lineup of restaurants, food vendors lined up for this year. We also have some nonprofits on the next page. Or government, CREEDMOOR Veterans Organization.
Before you go any further, and I want to hit this because I'll forget it, but if we wait too much longer, this is kind of between you and the city manager too. One of the issues we had during this thing last year were certain food vendors way overcharging. And they'd say it's one price charged to a credit card, and it turned out it was a whole lot more. Are we doing anything this year to help oversee that or prevent it from happening, or double checking these people's prices to make sure what they say it is what they're charging?
So two things. I don't know that was, I know we had one person, I don't say there may have been multiple reports, but I do know of one vendor in particular. I'm aware of that issue. That individual was not brought back this particular year. That's kind of what we're doing in terms of we ask for their menu. But no, we don't go around, we don't check everybody's prices to make sure that they're changing. So I'll double check. I'm saying we don't, I don't believe we do, but I'll ask Angie to confirm that we don't do that and pretend. We do respond more to complaints and issues and just not invite them back next year. Note too that we had a complaint or an issue with that individual.
Okay, thank you.
Keep them back. So what I do want to note is this was a Wednesday. Right, as of Wednesday last week when I put this together, 74% of vendor spaces were occupied. Right now we have 83%. So in a matter of not quite a week, we've gone from 74 to 83 with still, we say that September 1st they have to have everything in, but really we'll take everybody up to the last minute. So,
$150 a booth?
If it's electric.
140 if it's electric.
Oh.
Electric booth is 140. I think a non-electric, I want to say, is 100. Yeah. So, by the way, so I do want to go back. When I say 112, those are the number of vendor spaces, not the number of vendors that we have. You'll have vendors such as food stalls, even craft vendors who take up 2 spaces or 3 spaces. So that's not a count of the vendors, but that's a count of the number of vendor spaces that we have. So we don't anticipate having any problems filling up or getting very close to filling up again as we have in previous years. Marketing's going very well too. One of the new things, again, we did get the $5,000 mini grant for advertising. Some of that is being held taken care of through the TDA. The TDA this year, they're doing something a little bit different. Instead of, in previous years, they would go out and give everybody, here's $5,000, here's $5,000, here's $5,000. And a lot of us, whether it be Butner, whether it be Oxford, we're then going to the same places and saying, here's my money, here's my money, here's my money. So what our TDA board did this past year is say, look, go out and negotiate one rate for all of these events so we can get the billboard 8 times and then divvy up the billboard to us. So that would save us and the TDA a little bit of money because we're not individually negotiating our event. The TDA is bulk negotiating our event on our behalf. So that led to us to be able to not only do the vinyl billboard, that's it, that's what's up on I-85, but we actually have a digital billboard. I know Angie's really excited about the digital billboard on US 1. Nextdoor Radio, we've been on NC Festival's website, Butner CREEDMOOR News, Facebook, Carolina Music Fest, Granville County Chamber of Commerce, WRAL, Digital Community Board. We are out there in a number of locations to let people know that we are having this event this year. So we do expect a good turnout. Yes?
So we've got 2 anchors from WTVD, but we don't have them through marketing for. We've got WRAL, but no WTVD.
And I'll have to double check. I put many more there because I didn't list everybody who's doing it.
All right.
Expenses, I do want to talk a little bit about where we are. Expenses, a few changes and updates to this just because we're spending some stuff every day. We're getting close to our event. T-shirts, that's my bad. I switched around my 1 and my 6, so it's not 2162, it's 2612 is the total for T-shirts. That is still a bargain. We got 4 quotes. This company was the lowest of those 4 quotes. 2 of those quotes were local. I believe the local quotes were Honeybees and Steve's. Quotes ranged everywhere on the low end from $26.12 all the way up to $4,000. So again, this is the best deal. We've got the T-shirts in. Angie's really happy with them. The quality's there. But again, we're getting a good deal for our T-shirts. Additional updates, tents, chairs. We finally got the quotes back. We had estimated 1,500. There's been a new change in the law. We used to use, or these companies used to use 55-gallon drums of water to anchor their tents down. They can no longer do that. So they actually have to have concrete blocks that they bring with them, which you can imagine is a lot more labor and resource intensive, just with the prices. We were expecting 1,500, but it turned out to be 2,184 is what we're spending on tents and chairs for the event. So total, where we are right now, again, our budget's $29,000. We don't anticipate that we will come right up to that. We're going to be under $29,000 is what the budget is. Right now, we're basically $25,022 is where we are in expenses in terms of what it's going to cost us to run this particular event. Logistics, most of the logistics that need to be handled are handled. Southern States lot confirmed, NC DOT, road closures done, CPD involvement's good, MCs have been identified, sponsorship and vendor sales are going very well. Over $5,200 in sponsorships already this year with more potential vendors that we have had some good phone conversations with, but that just haven't handed us a check. Stage production contract is good, advertising's ongoing. Only a few things that we really got. Bounce house corner for kids, we just need to secure the bounce house. We do have a sponsorship for the play area. It is the new Chevy dealership, is it Chevy dealership that changed hands next door? I do apologize, I do not know what the new name is. They're coming
Team A Chevrolet.
No, not anymore.
Name was
would, but
They're out of
Iron Oak, that's it. I heard it once today.
What is it?
Iron Oak.
Wow.
They just, I guess, just handed it over. In front of you, next meeting, 9/5, we'll have a resolution to allow alcohol on Main Street. Staffing assignments are coming together. I want to say Angie's had a lot of productive meetings with everybody. I know she's met with representatives from Public Works, from the BOC. She's met with representatives from CPD, Public Works. She's met with Sarah in terms of the band. Cameron's helping out with vendors, as well as the wonderful knickknacks that we get local to hand out. So there's been a lot of top-down. She's met with our Public Works Department in terms of the new banner and getting that installed, with the dumpsters that are going, some of the changes we've had around that, based on some of the feedback we got last year. So this is something she's been coordinating very closely across all of our departments in the city to ensure is a really good success this year.
Have we reached out, I see you've got the CREEDMOOR Police Department. We also use the Fire Department. Have we reached out to them too?
We reached out to them, and I know we reached out directly to at least 4 of their volunteer firefighters. We didn't have any feedback from the Fire Department. So I know we have reached out to them, and I know they will be involved. But I know we reached out to them in terms of coming to the committee meeting, and we didn't have any representatives from them.
Well, basically, they just block off the street. I just want to make sure they're still available to do that.
I know I spoke to Angie today. She's reaching out to them, and I have no doubt that they've been supportive in years past, that they will continue to be supportive of it. And then we do have several upcoming committee meetings. The way we kind of structured it is we had one kickoff meeting early this year with the CREEDMOOR Music Fest Committee. She's been meeting individually with individual members. I know she met with Commissioner Kaczynski regarding BOC policy procedure updates and reviewing some of those. As I mentioned, she met with Eugene Harris, Lieutenant Harris regarding security for the event. She's met with Philip and Steve regarding the dumpsters. So she really has involved everybody, City Hall, with the band selections, the vendors, the knick-knack giveaways that we give. But if any of you would like to attend, August 31st at 2 p.m., September 7th at 10 a.m., and September 13th at 10 a.m. will be the final 3 meetings just to go over all the logistics, get any questions answered. Again, really we do this so that all the respective departments know what to expect of it. So Public Works will send a representative. We'll send back with them. They'll know what their involvement is going to be. So there's no questions. There's no surprises as we get closer to the date. And that's it. We hope to see you all on Saturday, September 16th. I think Angie would be remiss if I didn't remind all the staff in the room to remind all their staff that the 16th is a required work day for us to be there to help support this event. It really does take the entire city to pull this event off, to have 7,000, 8,000 people on Main Street. So last year was the 29th year. I remind you this is the 30th anniversary. We're going to have a great time, and if you got any questions, I'm here to answer them for you.
Good job, Chris.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, let's see, Commissioner Kaczynski, any questions?
Nope.
Commissioner Wilkins?
Good job, as I mentioned.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Chris, I just have one question. Like, at the beginning of the year, or maybe like right after, the community or the, music festival, do we send out like next year's dates and things to other cities like Franklinton and Youngsville and all those people to get them to come, and participate next year?
Good. I will check on that. I don't believe we send out a direct email to those cities. We work really closely with the TDA. So the way that we really do is we put these dates to the TDA, because the TDA is the one looking at, hey, TDA has everybody's events, right? TDA is looking at when's the chicken picking, when's the hot sauce, when is the Viking Days. They're looking at all those dates and making sure if they see any conflicts with any of the dates, they're saying, hey, no, you've got a new thing popping on. You don't want to do it on this date. CREEDMOOR always has third Saturday in September. You don't want that particular date. You're not going to get the traffic. CREEDMOOR's going to have them. So that's the way we've really handled it in the past, is use the TDA to stack all these Granville County events and let them know what we're doing.
Okay. Mr. Gleason?
Well, just really, the amount of work that goes into this is tremendous. So you, your staff, everybody that's involved really should get a pat on the back. I just want to clarify something that I said now that we're on TV. about being all right with the holiday parade. Nothing that I said about the holiday parade wants to do away with Santa Claus, Christmas carols, Christmas trees, Christian churches. It's mainly a Christian event. And at our tree lighting, Santa Claus is gonna be there, Christmas carols are gonna be sung. But if we sing dreidel, 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 I'll sing along.
Commissioner Wade?
Chris, I saw back on your city-sponsored events, you had the Fireman's Day celebration listed as a city-sponsored event. I mean, if it's something that we want to look at in the afternoon, as far as like a Fireman's Day celebration, when I hear the words Fireman's Day celebration, I think of something kind of like our music festival that we do now. It's a street festival. It's here to basically support the fire department, and that's something that I've always dreamed of seeing happen, is something of that nature. The city of Garner does it for their Fireman's Day. They have vendors, they have food trucks, they have bounce houses and things like that. I think it's a way where maybe we can capitalize on it, not this year, of course, but, maybe in the future, to make it some type of afternoon festival to go with all the stew that we're gonna sell by the court. But it gives people to be able to come out and maybe, I don't know, touch the truck with Public Works or something like that, maybe like a smaller version of National Night Out.
I love that, and when you discuss these events and the naming and the dates and talk about what you want, what they are today, what you would love them to be. This is, part of opening this discussion is not just about the names and the date of these, it's really about what do you want them to be, and that's what I wanna hear. I wanna hear like that, where, this is good, but it could be so much more if you did A, B, and C. So thank you for that, I really appreciate it.
And it probably wouldn't hurt to have the fire department make some input into kind of what you would want to do and get in touch with Chris as far as that goes. As always, excellent job. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. But I'm never coming to a Christmas event again if Commissioner Gleason sings dreidel, dreidel, dreidel.
Thank you very much, have a great evening.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
Okay. We move down now to, if I am not mistaken, item 6E, Sigwassa Water and Sewer Allocation Discussion. Mr. Frangos.
Hello, good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the board.
Hello, Mike.
I'm not gonna talk about Christmas. It's a bit easier. We're just gonna talk about
Any
water
other holiday.
and wastewater allocation. So y'all remember back on October 17th of '22, Resolution 2022 R14 was adopted. That's been about 10 months ago. In that 10 months, we've given out water and sewer allocation for 8 residences. It's the only allocation we've provided. There has been 0 requests for non-residential allocation, and we have reserved allocation that remains on our policy right now. So the question before us tonight is, do we want to amend the existing policy, which would allow us to continue to at least provide allocations for one unit at a time, single-family residential unit, 264 gallons at a time, or are we satisfied halting all residential allocation? And that's where we would be for roughly the next 5 years. And that's why I wonder how this board wants to proceed, and if an amendment to the policy is in order, or are we satisfied where we are now? So on the list that I've included for you in your packet, you'll notice that there are 8 addresses listed. Certain units are complete and built, and others remain unbuilt. So of course, those units that are unbuilt get 1 year of zoning compliance effectiveness, and the idea that the permit lasts for 1 year. Now, they are renewable for another fee, but at the same time, they would, if left unrenewed, they would go back into the pot for residential allocation. So I bring this up now just to say that we are at 0. My suggestion and inclusion in the agenda packet tonight was the reserve that we've set aside, 510 gallons per day for the City Hall expansion project, and the 1,000 gallons per day that have been set aside for the CREEDMOOR Fire Department building expansion. Now, we did hear earlier tonight that maybe that's not necessary, and I understand. I don't know that they've compiled the total number of gallons per day, and I'm sure they probably don't know the total number needed for the new building, because it'll be based on square footage, it'll be based upon facilities that are included, washers and other things like that. So that number still might be, a little bit further off, but knowing that there is some available or some already in hand is a good thing, and I think that's a number that CVFD needs to get a hold of and really hold on to. So my question to you is, how would you like to proceed? Do you feel that we should reallocate, or do you feel that we should continue the policy as originally stated in October?
Before we start here, on these ones here of construction, let's say, are the ones that are unbuilt, or let's say unbuilt, not construction, and do they have to be completed within that 1 year, or at least started?
No, at least started, building permit issued. The idea that the development is proceeding. Once you start with the zoning permit, you proceed to the building permit, and the building permit then has an effectiveness of its own. So as long as you're continuing along the process, you get to keep the allocation. It's the idea that we gave you a zoning permit, you did nothing with it for a year, then the allocation.
Okay. Also here, looking at these, of course, on the volunteer fire department, we're going to need to wait, I personally think, before we do anything with their allocation. And you're suggesting for 5 years on these other ones. In other words, if we think we're going to do the police department or City Hall expansion within 5 years, you would suggest hanging on to them.
Right.
Okay.
That's the best information that we have, is we believe 2028 is when there'll be more allocation made available to us.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem, any questions?
No.
Commissioner Kuczynski?
Okay. I was afraid we would get to this point. I'm glad we did, because I had a feeling that something like this was going to happen. The property across the street from the fire department, that little lot that they cleared, I will tell you, and Robert Way knows, we said this at a meeting, there is no allocation for that lot. Those people before the fire department, they didn't have any water or sewer in that property. So there's nothing there. The house and the fire department, I don't know what they have, but you're right, combining them might be enough. So your suggestion is to look at this again. Should we take it on a first-come, first-served basis going forward from now on, or reserve any of it?
Well,
I mean, you've done this longer than I have, so.
and I certainly believe that non-residential allocation is the most valuable for the city. That will translate into the most ad valorem tax dollars going forward. I think it is our duty to preserve non-residential allocation. But at the same time, all we're getting is housing. All we're getting is requests for more housing. It's tough to turn people away, which I've already done, in our office. And I had to say, I'm sorry, you can't build a house right now because I can't allocate you water and wastewater.
But if we change this tonight, can you reach out to those people again?
Yeah. There are several that are in process. When we talk about first come, first serve, it's of course first come, first serve with a complete application, right? Site plan, complete, meeting the standards and setbacks, et cetera. I have very many that are incomplete, right? Where they come forward with just not all the pieces ready to go. So when one comes forward with it being complete, they're at the front of the line.
So the Creedmoor Office Park that was approved 3 years ago, and now they've done nothing with it. Their preliminary allocation is gone now because they didn't do anything.
Now, I don't get notified from Seguasa about something like that that might happen. Your point is that allocation remains unclaimed, and that's true, but I don't know that.
But that's not in these numbers.
No, not at all.
Yeah, that's the point I'm making is,
Yeah,
so if they decide they want to build tomorrow, they got to do the whole
right. They'd have to
site
come
plan
back.
and all that other stuff. Okay, all right. No, I think we should possibly revisit this. I don't want to turn anybody away. I do understand your point that commercial allocation is much more profitable to the city than residential, but I don't want to turn anybody away. And the amount of gallons per day for residents versus commercial is so much lower. So,
There is one bit of news, and I'm not sure how many of you all might be aware about Session Law 2023-55,
yeah,
which was recently adopted back in June, where the number came down, right, to 75 gallons per day per bedroom. Now, CREEDMOOR gets the benefit of already a lower gallons per day per bedroom than others, so we're a total of 264. With this, we could potentially bring it down to 225.
Okay.
A little bit of savings. You might save 39 gallons or so
Yeah.
in there, but just a point that, that's all we get. That's where I'm at.
Yeah.
You know, we've had quite a couple of circling potential developers. We've all met Mr. Lemieux here on several different occasions. Bill has not come to me
okay.
with a site plan. Still
Well,
has not
I
come
thank
to
you
me.
for bringing this back to us, I really do, because we don't know what's happening in your office until you tell us.
It's my duty to report back to you, and I put it into the monthly reports, regularly as we've proceeded, but it's been a slow and steady march to the end of the residential allocation. So that's where I wanted to get is, do you want it to be the end, or should we bring over another 1,000, or just maybe 510? 510 doesn't quite get us 2 dwelling units though. Yeah, you know, just a little short of that.
Mr. Wilkins?
You said it was a disconnect with Seguasa, that you're not aware of certain things? How can we fix that?
After allocations lapse, the idea that the CREEDMOOR Office Park, Commissioner Kaczynski, it's been at least 3 years, for sure.
So,
And that was some that we had given, they didn't use it, but I don't ever get notified to say, okay, it's not been used, so here you go, CREEDMOOR, you have it back.
so how can we fix that? So you're made aware from Seguasa?
I just need maybe Scott to let me know, or I'm not sure if there's an official tally with Seguasa.
They've not applied for it.
They've not applied for it.
They've not applied for it.
So then
So there's
that's
nothing
what
to
I'm
know.
doing. Okay,
We've never given an allocation for that.
okay.
The last one we did was for the food truck,
Mexican restaurant?
the Mexican restaurant that was gonna be over there behind PNC. That was the last one.
Okay, same site. That was
Right.
a few years.
Yeah, but that was much smaller.
Yeah.
And we did approve that, but they haven't used that. And as far as CREEDMOOR Office Park, they've never come to Seguasa, so there's nothing there to be missed.
Okay. It's obviously very valuable. We want to know about every gallon,
Yeah.
that's available to us.
So again, how can we do that?
I really just need to hear back from Seguasa. I would really be able to know, how they're,
Mr. City Manager, can we set up a mechanism to make sure that happens?
Follow Scott, yes, sir.
Wouldn't it kind of be our responsibility to notify Seguasa that their zoning request or permit or site plan, whatever, to where we told them you can get this, to let them know that that's expired so that they know that the people haven't started building in the allotted amount of time?
I don't have a mechanism. I guess that's the best way to say it, is I don't have a mechanism right now to be able to get those numbers back and forth.
Okay, well, we'll let you and Seguasa and
Hey, once-
his manager work on that.
Once the site plan is done and goes to Mike, he makes a recommendation to Seguasa, and that's it.
I sign off on the allocation request.
And then it's up to the person who owns the property, the builder, the developer, whatever it is, to take the next step, go to Seguasa, and then get their building permit. Mike's job is done. There's nothing else for him to do.
Except the idea of being able to reclaim it.
Right.
Well, like Graham's Crossing, 45,000 gallons. That's been sitting out there since 2007.
Okay, but that's not in the same case. We all know that those dollars.
But that is bought and paid for, and there's nothing we can do about them. They've bought and paid for that completely, so that is still sitting there that Creedmoor can't use, and they're not building.
Let them move it.
I think what we're trying to figure out is, once you approve it and say, okay, they need this allocation, and Seguasa gets it, no one's lets you know and says, okay, well, they submitted their full site plan, you've submitted the allocation, we've approved the allocation, money's exchanged hands, so they've got the water. I think what you're trying to say is, well, I've got it on my list, this is what, we don't have it anymore, and let's say we have 4 locations that you approved, but they never followed through and got their money given to Seguasa to get their allocation. But on our end, it's showing that we don't have it. So we just need to know, is there any floating out there?
Right, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Good term, yeah.
Floating.
I understand where you're coming from. That's something that
We'll get y'all, see if we can figure out a way to take care of that. Mr. Gleason?
I certainly think it should be revisited. I would hate to see that we turn down 5 new homes in the city.
No, not nearly that much, no. It's 1 or 2 applicants that I've worked with, like I said, that are still incomplete. We haven't had anybody to come forward, you know. When they tell me subdivision, if anybody tells me subdivision.
No, I'm not talking subdivision, but you say you have two homes right now that people may be.
Yes.
So now, I know from somebody telling me that there may be 2 or 3, 4 or 5 homes that they might want to build on the 4 or 5 lots that are left in Golden Pond. And they may, I don't know, do they already have allocation?
No. Not to my knowledge. I mean, Golden Pond was 20 years ago.
So in any case, if they wanted to, right now, there would not be
Correct.
any water allocation.
Correct.
I would hate to see us lose 4 new homes.
Right.
Unless we revisit this and say, well, if it's there, we're not gonna hold 5,500 gallons of water, or maybe.
Yeah. Okay.
Commissioner Way? Okay. Well, this is my understanding of the 2 issues we need to consider. One, the police department, and the city hall expansion, we need to decide if we're going to readjust, because this board will be sitting here, certain members or a majority of it will be sitting here come November, December for the next 4 years. Is there any indication that we will revisit those 2 projects within the next 4 or 5 years to where we need to hang on to that? And then once that's decided, we need to decide if we're going to release those allocations for residential use. So those are the 2 issues you need to decide on.
Let me get out my magic.
Well, but that's what we're having to do.
Well, but we can release enough for these 5 homes that are on this list without affecting that.
Well, what I'm saying is, though, eventually we may get to this point, in which case it would be better to kind of get a general understanding of what we think.
And I would like to wait for us to finish our capital improvement plan before we even think about that conversation. Because we need a CIP so we can plan for the future, and we can't plan till we know what's on that list.
Right.
And Mike is working on it.
Again, that's the 2 things we need to decide on, if I understand correctly. So we will look into that and address it for you.
Okay.
Because I think we really, right now, as far as the fire department goes, we can release that, but we want to hear from them first. All right, thanks, sir.
Appreciate it.
Okay, let's see. Well, so 6G is, second extension of Waste Industries Solid Waste Collection, Transportation, and Disposal Agreement. Mr. Turner, City Manager.
Mr. Mayor, members of the board, on January the 20th, 2015, the city entered into an agreement with Waste Industries to provide exclusive rights to the waste collection and recycling in Creedmoor. That initial term, expired, it was renewed. It expired again on June 30, 2023, and it's due for a second extension, which would carry us through June 30, 2026. In talking to Randy Dimmick, the general manager for, GFL, or Green for Life Environment, he gave me the update. I asked him for the current prices, and you can see there the first cart is $17.66. The second residential cart is $12.01. Recycling for the first cart $5.68, and recycling for the second cart $4.78. Kevin Hornick has prepared a second extension, which has been reviewed and executed by GFL. It just requires a motion to approve by this board and authorize the manager to execute that document on behalf of the city. There is no cost involved for the city. There's no cost at all. The residents contract with the hauler if they want collection.
Are the prices changing with this extension?
No, sir, that is the new prices. And the contract allows for those adjustments each year.
Okay, because I see down here it says the current pricing.
Well, that is the current, which we're already in that year.
Okay.
Just for whatever reason, we didn't do it July the 1st, when the other one expired, but they're the only provider here in Creedmoor that's helping us with that.
When was the last time we looked at a different provider?
Probably back 2015, huh?
When Karina was here.
Yeah, I think we did look once since I've been here, which is 2017. But we found that they were still the best bang for the buck.
I think they're the only game in town.
Commissioner Gleason, any questions?
No, sir.
Commissioner Way?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem?
No, sir.
Commissioner Kuczynski?
No, sir.
Commissioner Wilkins?
No, sir.
All right, then at this time, I will entertain a motion to approve the second extension of amended and restated solid waste collection, transportation, and disposal agreement
So moved.
with Waste Industries.
So moved.
And authorize,
Through June 2026.
Let's see, let me finish here. With Waste Industries doing business as GFL Environmental for 1 year with 2 additional 1-year terms, which will expire on June 30th, 2026. Commissioner Gleason has made the motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries.
Mr. Mayor, I need authorization by the board to execute this document on behalf of the city.
Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Motion is made by Commissioner Kuczynski for the city manager to execute the agreement. Any discussion? Not seeing any. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries.
Mr. Mayor,
Commissioner Gleason.
while we're talking about garbage, the city has an ordinance that says that every homeowner in the city of Creedmoor must have garbage pickup. And it always was easy to take care of because we used to bill both for water and sewer and garbage pickup. Now, I know in the subdivision that I live of at least 3 or 4 houses that do not get garbage pickup. Some take their garbage down to the park and put it in the garbage cans. But the bottom line is we have no way of enforcing, I guess, that code in the city. I don't know I don't know how we would, unless someone was to ask GFI for a list of all of the current contracts, you could look and see what street addresses were not getting garbage pickup. Could be asked why, but the bottom line is there is a code of ordinance that says you must get garbage pickup in the city of Creedmoor.
And I know isn't there parts of Golden Pond that are technically not in the city?
Except for I'm not talking about the donut hole, I'm talking.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that they didn't fall into there.
I don't know, that's just something we should look in down the road.
Yes, and I agree with that. If you can, city manager, if you can look into that for us, because he is correct. Every member pays taxes in the city of Creedmoor is supposed to deal with that, because we've had citizens complain that they don't do enough garbage and they can handle it themselves, and I've had to visit a few of them. But as we explained, it's kind of an all or none thing.
Got it on my list.
Thank you, sir. All right, we'll move to 6H, update on Creedmoor Veterans Organization banners and Veterans Memorial, and this is Mayor Pro Tem and Commissioner Wilkins.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Oh, well, you can see the summary of the issue. I had gone, actually, in my hometown, and I know Commissioner Gleason's hometown, when we go back, there are these veteran signs that hang on our lights and other places, and we thought it would be nice if we had them here. So, the Veterans, organization is, taking hold of this, and, Steve, from Public Works has worked hard on this too. So we have, as you can see, the banners up there that you can, have your loved ones, whether they be a veteran or, well, I guess they are veterans, but if they can be, what am I trying to say? If they could be, active duty or retired or, whatever you like, you can put your picture on, and, you'll have a couple lines that you can write whatever you like. And so we are trying to see what, for how long we'd like them to hang, where we'd like them to hang, and, there's a couple more questions that we need to, address, so I can let, my commissioner, go into the rest of it if you
Sure. So as the verbiage says in our agenda, July 1st, we approved a new monument in the amount of $20,795. Is this picture, can you put this picture up on the board? So, that's the old picture, but it's similar.
It's similar. It's all right.
That wasn't in the.
Right, the one that was handed out to the board just came in just before 5.
Yep.
So that's the one we finally agreed on with the input from the board. There's nothing yet picked out for the back of the monument. We're meeting on Wednesday night at 6:30 to discuss what we're gonna put on the back. Mr. Kaczynski came up with about 15 different descriptions.
Look at that. That's where it would be, right here.
So we're gonna discuss that on Wednesday evening. And just wanna get the board's input on the design, what do you think about it? And again, the one you have in front of you is the actual design we agreed upon.
Yeah, it's Sarah, if you go back to the other picture, Steve is hopefully going to have one of these banners for people to see at the music festival. So you can feel it and, you know, well, I guess will you have like, the prices and the forms already done?
Yes, you're getting that ready for me, yeah. And we have, veterans have a booth.
Yeah.
So we'll be there.
So they'll be there and they can discuss a little bit more about that with you. That's something you'd like to do. But I had thought about, we had talked about, where we were gonna hang them and for how long. And, down by the boardwalk with the lights, you know, the nice lights, but on the boardwalk, I thought about getting some hangers there and putting up some there if we have enough. Cause Chris said about putting them up on Main Street, but, I mean, you could put them all over. You could put them wherever you want. And Chris said that, you know, they should only be up at like Veterans Day, Memorial Day, things like that, but, I mean, in my hometown, they hang all year. So.
These are made to fit the current flag, so it's a matter of sliding them off and protecting them.
I'm sorry, go out.
The price on this, is that the minimum order, would be 5?
From the for the company, 5, yes.
Okay, the banners, how much do they cost?
$100, Chris?
$150.
$150. We're looking to sell them for $200.
Okay, the additional monies, is that going to the Veterans Committee, or where does that additional?
City coffers, as far as I know.
Okay. All right, and on the sign here, that's a cutout, from what I understand.
Two separate pieces of stone, one left and one right. Shows as a cutout of the Civil War ceremony.
And I do have one more thing, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Placement of the monument. Chris, I'm gonna call you in a minute. There's some discussion where to put it. The Veterans Organization decided to put it on the top. The community center, I understand some commissioners don't agree with that, so I'd like to open up for discussion. What the board feels it would like to go. Chris, can you help me out? Up front, we're putting it up on top.
I didn't bring any photos with me, so I'm glad to be here. You know, really in looking at the locations in terms of where you may want to put it, we are, and if you want to do this now, which, you know, we've already discussed that you do, kind of limited in your choices. We do have a lot of open space down at the community center. We've briefly talked about a welcome plaza where you could put something like this. We don't have a master plan for that site that lays out, this is where you're gonna have a walkway, this is where you're gonna have seating. And so anything you put down there now, you would probably have to move later on. So you really need to look at, if you're gonna do this now, selecting a place where you can leave it and put it, and it's not gonna impact any future development, because you don't wanna move this, not just for the cost, but moving it could potentially damage this beautiful monument as well. So in looking at places to put it, we're looking at a few things. One, is it a place that's accessible to the public? Two, in terms of being able to provide a space with some seating, with some landscaping, does this location serve that purpose for it? Is it a place where people can reflect and have some sort of reverence for the location? Busy spots with a lot of traffic don't make a great place in terms of wanting to be able to sit there and look at it when you've got kids yelling, running by, cars pulling in, pulling out. So in terms of looking at those potential site choices there, we looked at two sites. One was right when you go in, outside the community center, sidewalk, you're walking up to BC Roberts Field, you come off that lower parking lot right by where the flagpole is. There is a small, and I say small triangle, it might be, if that's the corner of that triangle here, it probably goes, I'm being conservative here, but you have room, sidewalk goes over here where the table is, you can stick it right there. But a few things. One, that's where all the kids are, that's where all the traffic is, that's where people are pulling in, that's where they're pulling out. You don't have room to step back. I'm right on top of it. Think about this as an 85-inch TV. You don't view an 85-inch TV from, 2 feet away. You're stepped back from it. So that really isn't a great spot for this. Next spot is up on the hill. If you're at where the old concession stand is, it's no longer a concession stand. Adjacent where the garden is, where the patio is for the senior center, there's a break of land that opens up. There's a sidewalk there. It overlooks BC Roberts Field. So you're removed far enough from what I want to say is Wilton Avenue here. You're not hitting the Wilton Avenue traffic. You're close to the senior center, so seniors who are veterans who are up at that senior center don't have to huff it all the way across down to find it's right there, it's right next to them. You're going to have parking there at that particular site pretty much all the time. You see the lower parking lot fills up, not that the upper parking lot doesn't, but it's not going to fill up as much. So somebody who wants to come visit is almost always assured somewhere in that upper parking lot is going to have a place to park. It's quiet, it's beautiful, there's a lot of opportunity in terms of the space to add some landscaping, to add a mural, to add benches, and to do something with that space. It's also nice because it is the second entrance. It's not a spot that is stuffed in a corner. We've got two entrances to the heart of the park. One is that lower entrance right by the community center. Again, I don't think you have the space to do anything down there, and you just have so much traffic down there versus up here where it is a it is a main artery into the park, so we're not putting it out in a corner. People who are sitting down at the field for a soccer game, for an event, for a concert, for a movie night, are gonna be able to look at this, they're gonna be able to see the silhouette right there, it's in a very prominent space for it. Again, like I said, there's a lot of opportunity, downsides to it. Really right now, I think the biggest downside is when I had scouted that location, that HVAC unit across the way wasn't spouting. So that is something that pops on from time to time, and you should know about that particular site. So, it's pretty raw right now, you have to look at it and have a little bit of imagination. That said, I'd love, if you wanna, you decide where this goes, I'd love to hear if you've got other ideas, other potential locations. We were just trying to, those are the two that we can come up, really the one site that I think will work. If you have other ideas you want to throw out there, I think that's that's something we didn't look at. We looked at areas further out in the park, the back corner. We didn't want to stick it back in a corner. We wanted it to be somewhere that was a main artery to greet people coming into the park. At the same time, we didn't want to put it at that main artery junction, where people were just going to be walking past it, parking lot, coming and going, and just put it in this small little silver of a section that we just don't have a lot of room to do anything more with.
And that's the spot the various organizations agreed with? Second one.
The one on the hill.
Yeah.
I wasn't there for the vote. I believe that is what they agreed on. But I do, from a site manager, of the two sites that we looked at, there might be more that we didn't consider. That's the one that stands out to me as being a more reflective, reverent space that you can do more of what the Veterans Committee wants to do in terms of making it a space for people to come and sit on a bench and look at this monument and stop by and stay there for a few minutes.
Nobody goes that way, though. And it's under an old ugly tree next to an old ugly building.
So I think you can make the building without a lot of work, make it look more beautiful. I think the tree is beautiful. I think it's an old
Well, I mean,
tree.
it's an old tree and all the roots are sticking out, and I mean, it's just a piece of, it's a big clump of dirt.
And I
Can we discuss that with the beautify?
So, we discussed that with them. Yeah, right now, it isn't much, it's nothing to look at. It's a clump of dirt. What they'd like to do is they'd like to bring in some benches, some landscaping. A great idea Commissioner Kuczynski had was put a mural up there, or something representing.
Oh, this is your idea.
I see. No,
she's trying to make it work.
That was Friday night that I suggested that. This is not mine.
But, trying to make that site work. Right, not a lot of people enter that way now, but again, we're looking toward the future when we have sports going on down there, when we have...
That'll draw them, I think.
When we've got stuff going on. Right now, we have nothing going on, so nobody's coming in that way, and you don't want to have the busiest place to put it. You want to have a place that will be busy, but I'll tell you, just as many people as are coming to, it's loud all the time. Cars are coming, cars are going.
So let me say this. So the place where the flag is and the bricks are is a busy place, and it doesn't get taken care of. So if you put that monument up on the hill, is it gonna get taken care of because it's out of sight, out of mind?
So I don't know, I'd love to hear back if there's any concerns with the care that I need to pass on to the, our team that takes care of that monument. I know they mow it, I know they spray it for weeds.
There was a lot of weeds on it last week.
Yeah, when I looked at it, she's right.
So I do know that, we're on a cycle. I'm defending Public Works here. We're on a cycle. They're not coming through every day. They take care of this, they take care of this, and they do.
Did you mention it though? Because I seen it last week too.
So I'm not...
Whatever.
Well, I would like to recommend one thing for this board. It's hard for us to sit here and picture where this thing would look best, is to go out there, maybe go with Chris or whoever, and just kind of look around and picture it. And see what you think is the best place for it. And then we can come back, because this is purely a discussion item here, so there's no action to be taken on tonight. But I highly recommend you do that, because that's what I'm going to do.
I agree. We can set that up. Or go look at it. Are you talking about individually, or?
Yeah, individually. Just go out, because we can agree on it, but I think that once everybody's looked at it and determined where they think, then we can sit down and have that discussion.
You want us to meet with Chris? I mean, I know where it is.
Well, like I said, you don't have to.
He would be busy.
You don't need me, to show you where it is. But if there is any confusion, that's where I want to make sure that there's no confusion exactly where we're talking about this particular location being. If you're going down the stairs, we only have one set of stairs. If you're parked up in the upper parking lot, you're walking down the stairs with the senior center on your left. Right before you get to the stairs, you got the building. Between the building and where that slope is, I would say that there's I'm not good at estimating those dimensions, but there is a relatively flat, it's raw dirt right now. It's not pretty. I'm not going to defend that it doesn't look ugly right now. But that's why I see the opportunity there to put something there that does beautify, that does attract people to that location without being in a place where there's just too much other stuff going on. But I've heard some other ideas in terms of, I don't want to pick a place that doesn't meet the needs that what you're going for and doesn't meet the needs what the veterans are looking for as well. So there's a lot of considerations you've got to take a look at. Again, one of the considerations we had was in the future was putting a welcome plaza to the park on the other end of that, where that lower parking lot is, where the flagpole is, and doing something where you come in that you have another, active memorial to veterans in our community versus what I see, and this is what I see, is more of a reflective memorial to the community where you might want something that is a little bit quieter and gives you a little bit more space from the guests and the hustle and bustle.
I don't know.
Commissioner Kuczynski.
So when the flagpole and the bricks were first started, there was no idea about a monument. We had no idea about it, and that's why the flagpole and the bricks are where they are. When we walked up to this spot and you looked out over it, yeah, it does look pretty nasty now. But if anybody on this board has been to the one in Oxford at the old municipal building, or I think it's the water building now, I'm not sure what it is. It's in the middle of a parking lot. There's no privacy. There's no reflection. This is a solemn place where you should be able to pay respects to somebody or reflect on whatever it is you want to reflect on. And down at that lower end is not it, in my opinion. It's busy all the time. Upstairs, yes, it's not so busy. The only thing I would suggest is we're going to have to move the dumpster that's up there, because nobody wants to sit there, reflect, and smell garbage. But that would be one thing that has to be done. I was thinking that we could have somebody, maybe our girl who did the Creedmoor Community Center sign, paint an American flag on that side of the concession stand building. And, it would dress it up a little bit. Handicapped accessibility is a huge issue that has got to be thought of. A lot of veterans are handicapped. A lot of their family members are handicapped. Up there, next to the senior center, there's handicapped access from the parking lot. If you say you want to go visit the monument and it's down at the lower part, if you go on a busy night of the week, you're not going to park. There's no place to park. That parking lot is packed. It's not a big enough parking lot. We can't do anything about that right now. So those are my pros for putting it up on the hill. And the other question that I have is the price on this monument.
$24,000.
Does that include the cement foundation base that has to be built to go with it? I don't think it does. I think that's just the design price.
That is Chris, do you recall this conversation?
I think it was design and installation, but I thought we had to do the base, but I don't want to.
Yeah.
I thought
We
you
had
said
to
the
provide
base was a
the
different
base
thing.
for it, and they wouldn't.
It needs a cement footer to make sure it doesn't go over the hill.
But we also talked about cameras, landscape.
Yes, that's right, cameras, there's cameras up there.
Be plenty of bird poop on it.
If anything, it would be the footing.
It's gonna be bird poop anywhere we put it, unless we put it inside. So, those are my pros for putting it up on that hill. I've been to the one in Oxford, and I felt like I was standing in a fishbowl. There were people pulling in, pulling out, people coming and going. There was no privacy whatsoever there for me. And there was somebody, I was going there to visit their brick, and there was no privacy. And this is supposed to be a solemn place, a place of reflection, so it should be away from a busy crowd. And Chris can tell you, I went up there Friday, and I walked that whole, I walked the back part of the lot where the drainage areas are, and said, maybe we could put it over here, or maybe we could, trying to get it away from the traffic. And you could hear the cars going up and down the street. It wasn't peaceful at all. So that's the only reason I'm in favor of putting it up on the hill, because it's a more peaceful place.
Mayor Pro Tem, did you have something you wanted to say a minute ago?
She wants the better.
Well, no, the point is, I mean, you said that you're gonna be able to see it from the thing, see it from the field. But if the ground doesn't allocate for you to see it from the field, and you have to turn it to where it's facing the parking lot, then you're just looking at the side of a piece of granite.
So
You're not looking at the picture.
You're right. So the plan isn't to put this parallel to the sidewalk.
Right.
It's to put it at an angle, so an angle and a setback. So it's worth us when you come by, even taking an 85-foot piece of 82, I think it says 82 by 60, thereabouts, piece of cardboard, saying this is it. This is right here. Where do we want to set it? Where do we want to look? I really do want to echo your point about having a maintenance plan for it. That's something that, you know, we need to get a commitment from, and I'm sure they won't have any issue, but prioritizing this location, if you're going to put it in, for regular maintenance and what that looks like to address those concerns. That's very valid concerns. And yeah, I'd love you to come out, look at other sites, be creative. What didn't we think of? Did we think about that spot? Why didn't you consider that? I'm not saying these are the only two spots. These are the two that jump out to me, but I think there's other things that, you know, come and look at the site, walk around, see what you think about these two, come back, what about that spot? What about that spot? But again, from a facility director review, I think that's the best spot for it.
And the city manager, if Chris is busy or something, will be happy to meet you out there if you want somebody to walk around with you on it. Any further questions? Commissioner Gleason.
I haven't said anything. It's a public monument to the veterans of Creedmoor. My only concern is that it's somewhere where the public can find it. I don't want to have to say, oh, have you seen the monument? Where is it? Well, if you go into this parking lot, it's that way. If you go into this parking lot, it's that way. This is a magnificently beautiful monument. I want it to be somewhere where the citizens can see it. If I'm wrong, and this is just a reflective memorial for veterans who died representing the city of Creedmoor or Creedmoor area, then I would say we more look at putting names on it for that reason, and then make it a place where you go and reflect on those names. If it's a public monument and the public doesn't know where it is, if you drove down anywhere you're driving, you would never know there's a monument over on the hill. That's my only concern. I want to make sure that the public has access to this monument, because it's a beautiful monument, and it represents wonderful people. And like I said, we will look around, and I will be glad to meet you out there and take a look.
Further questions? Not hearing any. Commissioner Wilkins, Mayor Pro Tem, y'all have any other questions or comments?
No, sir.
All right, we will move along then.
Thank you, Chris.
Did we approve buying it?
Yeah, it's in the budget.
That's been taken care of. The only thing now is, this was just purely informational. Okay, we move down to financial summary report. Mr. Baines.
Are you awake?
He's drifted a time or two, I think.
Good evening, Mayor, Board. Tonight I bring to you, as part of one of my duties as the finance officer, it's my duty to provide you all with a budget update, either it being monthly, quarterly, twice a year. I'll look to you all, checking how you all would like the information presented to you all. But I'm bringing to you all the financial summary report that I created, and city manager thought it would be a good idea to put it on the agenda for tonight to get you all feedback so that I can be able to generate a report for you all that's clear, for you all to understand. And if you have any questions from it, you can always feel free to ask. But to take a look at the report that presented to you all tonight, the top portion details the revenues, and it goes through the different components of the revenues that were budgeted for FY24. And if you go on the left side, you see current collection percentage as 2% for the whole. A couple things to note regarding revenues for July. If you look on the back, I put a little note section at the bottom that kind of details some important things for the month. July Avalon taxes and stormwater are dispersed by Granville County to the city in this month, actually. So that's why you do not see a collection for July. We actually received July collections this month. July sales taxes are not dispersed until September. If you all are aware, sales taxes are 2 months behind as far as when they are dispersed throughout the county and the cities, different municipalities. So you will see your first sales tax disbursement in September. So if you jump down to the expenditures, you see the different departments listed out as far as where their actual year-to-date and the current POs that are open. So if you see a large number, you got to take into account the PO rollovers from FY23. So that's why you might see a large number in those areas. And that's mainly due to the carryover from FY23 and, of course, some one-time insurance payments that are paid at the beginning of the fiscal year. In this, you also see the 50% already paid to the fire department for their services provided to the city, and also the payment for the fire truck. And then on the back side, you see the other funds are listed: stormwater revenue and expenditures, and also power bill revenues and expenditures. And those items are listed there as far as revenues collected, which would most mainly be interest earned in the bank that's dispersed out to those funds. We have not yet received the power bill funding. You will see that later on in the year. And once that is received, then you will see it reflected in the expenditure reports. Like I said, if you have any questions, anything that you would like to see added to this report, please let me know. I'll be sure to include that information in the report going forward for you all. And that's all that I have.
All right, Mayor Pro Tem, any questions?
No, sir. Thank you.
Commissioner Wilkins, any questions?
Sir, thank you.
Mr. Kaczynski?
No, thank you, very good. Thank you, Lee.
Mr. Way?
Sir, thank you.
Mr. Gleason?
Yes, sir, thank you.
As always, sir, it's a pleasure to see you again, and thank you for the information.
We're hanging around.
Yep. We'll have to start putting you first.
All right, we move to item 6J, AMPO.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
All right, so, on August 16th, the mayor and I and Commissioner May attended the Campo August meeting, and we were concerned about some of the situations, one of which is the Holy relocation. The Holy relocation is coming up fast on the 28th, and after our last meeting 3 weeks ago, I reached out to the regional director for Campo to ask them if we could put a traffic arrow at the intersection of Highway 56, Hawley School Road, and Crescent Drive. There's a turn lane there, but we want a arrow. It's been 3 weeks since we requested it. They said they're working on it. I forwarded that email again today to our Division 5 representative. Not that I'm trying to overstep, it's just we are down to the wire on this, and anything we can do to help relieve the traffic in that area, we want to get done, and we want to get it done before the school opens. When we were in that meeting, they were talking about the budget and the amount of money that's going out to each division and each region. It's a region, it's a region, right, Matt? Russ? Yeah. So this map came up on the board at that Campo meeting, and I had not seen this map before. But there is Division 5 right there, and you can see we are in a division and a region with Durham County and Wake County. The decisions that are made for funding and the projects that are made are based primarily on population, traffic congestion, and safety. If we are in the same region as Durham County and Wake County, my personal opinion is that we don't stand a chance. Now, we did, not to diminish it, the DOT did just do a big realignment of us with Highway 56, Cross City Trail sidewalks, and we do appreciate that, and that did cost quite a bit of money. But we need to have a traffic study done on Highway 56, and the amount of money that was allocated for our Division 5 in the budget, and I think it was 2024 to 2033, is only $16 million. And when you're looking at all these places, $16 million isn't going to go very far. So Commissioner May asked, is there any way to realign the divisions? And I don't think we got a straight answer. It would have to go through the legislature, and it'd be a larger option. And I'm going to let Commissioner May jump in here because it was the mayor was there and Russ was there, and come on in and jump in. But I came away from there feeling a little depressed, but I wanted the citizens of Creedmoor to know, I wanted them to see this map, and I want them to know what we're up against when we try and get a DOT project through. But I also want the citizens of Creedmoor to know that we have done everything we can for the holy relocation, and right now, to put a turn lane in for that school, the ball is in the court of the Granville County School Administration. They need to hire an engineer to design that turn lane, and then at that point, it will go to the DOT for their approval, and they will do the construction. But we have done everything that we can do to try and make this as pleasant as possible. Pleasant is probably not the word, to avoid the best congestion that we can. And if we know that the first 2 weeks of school are going to be hard, they usually are no matter what. But we need everybody to cooperate and to try and understand that we are doing the best we can with what we have to work with. And the city has done their share, the county's done their share, and now it's up to the school and the DOT to do theirs from this point forward.
One thing before Russ does, and if I remember correctly, and both of y'all correct me, they were saying that that $16 million was for a 10-year plan.
Yep.
And that most of it is gone in the first 5 years. So there really isn't a whole lot.
That was what was remaining.
Mm-hmm.
But it was many millions and millions more already consumed.
Mm-hmm.
Where the other districts were showing a lot more millions. They had not had projects to consume that funding. When you're in a district, excuse me, Mayor.
Before you start, do me a favor just for the minutes and all. Introduce yourself and then by all means take over.
I apologize. Thank you, Mayor, for allowing me to speak. Mayor Pro Tem, City Manager, thank you very much for allowing me to be here, and Commissioners. I'll go back to and Russ May. County Commissioner for District 5, actually the current chairman, so thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for reminding me. My home address is 4659, I think, Ashton's Way, so, well, probably well over a year now, I met with Mr. Winslow, Representative Winslow, and other county officials, and we met to see if we could realign. Whenever you're in a district, a DOT district, and you have two major metropolitan areas within your district, you are literally on the bottom of the totem pole competing for funds. Obviously, because all the criteria which Ms. Kuczynski had already identified. It doesn't align that way for us, and doesn't work out for it's something that it would take a legislative act, that it would take actually, it doesn't necessarily mean it would bring us more money, because we'd be removing out of that alignment, going into another county area, but the real funding, masses of the funding, a lot of it comes from federal funding, as well as state funding, goes to, based on traffic count, all these other dollars, which Wake and Durham would bring with them. So realignment at that point was something that we decided, and through the discussion, really wasn't that advantageous. And as Mr. Jones, District 5's DOT manager told us, it's really about the state allocating more funding. It's just not enough funding to do all the major projects that there are to do. So with that said, when it comes to Highway 56, which we're all concerned about, not just for now, but for years to come, it's set to be expanded to 2040. I think that most of us would agree that 2040 it's going to be very different looking Highway 56. And we already have significant congestion right here. I went through here this morning at 7:30, 8 o'clock this morning, and it takes a little bit now just to get to CREEDMOOR. We don't have the traffic that we're going to have during school hours and so forth. So we have asked to do a corridor study from, as I told the board before, from Butner through Franklin, hopefully toward Lewisburg, with Campo, and that would be a corridor study, which would include everything ranging from traffic study to economic development. And so it's hopeful we get that. Campbell's an excellent organization, unfortunately, because so many of the major projects go elsewhere, we often don't see the benefit of Campo. And so those are things that you'd have to evaluate, as I have my board evaluate, depending on whether or not we receive this traffic corridor study, because that's that significant. So we do have the ears and the eyes of the legislators that are responsible for our areas. People know our concerns. We do know that we've identified these issues to the DOT, Mr. Jones, and I'm hopeful that they'll get these changes made as soon as possible. One thing that Commissioner Kuczynski mentioned, and I think, and I'm agreeable to it, if his board's agreeable to it, is to have the county manager and the county city attorney and also work with the school to put out some type of public service of notice to let people know what is being done and what we're hoping to achieve over the course of the next few year or so. But we've done everything we can up to this point to mitigate the traffic, and that it's really it's not the city of CREEDMOOR's fault. It's not the county's fault. It's frankly, it's going to be more. It's just the nature of the beast that we're facing, and we're facing throughout this area. It's just not. This is not unique just to Granville County. Growth is coming, whether people want it or not. It's coming, and it's coming in a large way, particularly in our traffic count. That people are now no longer at home, and they're going back to work, and on a more steady basis, and so it's going to continue to grow. So that's all I have, unless you have any further questions.
Mr. Kuczynski, would you like to add anything to that?
No, I'm good.
Mr. Wilkins, any questions?
No, sir.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Russ, we pay money into this, don't we?
Mm-hmm. Your city pays money to the Campo as the county. It's really not, from talking to Mr. Baker, it's not our funding is not astronomical to them based on what we could, put it like this. If we got this traffic course study, it would be more than worth many years over the Campo, fee.
So it's worth still putting in the money, hang in there?
I think you and the county would need to evaluate based on whether or not we obtain the study. That's what I intend to do with my board, is have them to reevaluate our partnership. Not that the county manager may disagree with it, our planner may disagree, others may disagree, because it also deals with greenways, it also deals with, bike paths, trails, and so forth. There's a lot of other planning, in that besides just highways. So, you have to look at the total package that they provide you by having such a planning organization working on behalf of you. And our fee is not excessive, but it is at least something to discuss, and it brings more value to us than just thinking that we're at the table, because almost 99% of all the votes, let me go back. A significant amount of votes, I wouldn't say 99%, are really about Wake County transportation. Durham is not in our same MPO. Durham is in a separate MPO, but they're in our same DOT district. So the meetings at Campo focus on a Campo district, not a DOT district. So we don't.
Butner's not in there either.
Butner's decided not to participate.
Okay, that's all I have.
Commissioner Gleason.
No question.
Mr. Way? City manager has jotted down that we pay $3,470 annually as our Campo fee.
Yeah, if you were to look at, Mr. Mayor, if you were to look at the Greenway planning and the other planning that you just went through for all the things you just got done, that's phenomenal. So that's, again, I would not make that recommendation to my board. I want to just wait and see about the study. And then I would reassess and talk to my county manager about it, and the planners, the professionals that deal with this stuff every day before we make this happen. I think ours, I'm not certain, but I believe ours is around 13,000.
All right. Commissioner Kuczynski.
So the other thing, just so everybody is aware, we saw a lot of bike and pedestrian work being done. There was a lot of money being spent on bike trails and pedestrian trails, and my personal opinion is we need to worry about traffic. But the county has a member who goes to the TCC meetings. We have Mr. Frangos who goes to our GCC meetings. So between the four of us, if we keep harping at the door, maybe somebody will open it for us. I don't know what else we can do.
I feel really good about the study. I'm hoping that we can get it. We just keep trying and thankful to boys, Mr. Franco and Mr. Baker that go to these meetings and get that input. And they know that we're a valuable customer. They know we're at the table every meeting, so it benefits them as well for us to receive some type of benefit.
Well, Commissioner May, we appreciate you being part of this discussion tonight. Thank you for coming.
Yes, sir, thank you.
All right, at this time, we will move to a motion for a closed session.
So moved.
All right, we have Commissioner Wilkins. Any discussion? Not hearing any. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. All right, we will go into closed session.
Good night, thank you.